Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I am Big Dave.
And we're going to do a Nashville-centric episode this time around, simply because before we even cut the mics on, we started talking about...
We were reminiscing about the
Reminiscing about some stuff that used to be around here that we missed.
Yeah.
We've touched on a few of these things
in the
past episodes.
Yeah.
Again, this is it's a very Nashville centric episode.
Yes, it is.
But we had so many cool, I guess was it the summertime we talked a little bit about some of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, the different concert venues.
Right,
and all that.
But the thing is there was more to it than that. Let's do a quick little rundown. I've lived here my entire life. You've been here since...
I moved in 89, 90,
okay,
somewhere in there.
30-ish years ago, somewhere right in there. So it's one of those that, obviously, like most cities, Nashville has undergone a major change in the last decade.
Well, Nashville's always been a city that kind of changed with the times.
It's been very transient. Yeah.
The city's always been very transient because you've got Interstate 65, 40, and 24 all crossing right here.
Right.
So it's easy to get pretty much where you need to go from here.
Right. And there's also people who come to town wanting to make their name in music.
Yeah.
And that usually would last about 2 or 3 years, and then they would go somewhere else, you know, and so,
usually to Austin.
Or they would go back to wherever they were from, and not to say, we didn't enjoy having them here. I mean, that's always been a thing too. I mean, like I said, from living here forever, I can't tell you how many times I know someone who moved to town because their parents came here looking to make it in the music business.
Yeah. And
they would be gone within a year or 2, 3, if you were lucky, because none of them made it. And they were like, well, I guess it's time to go back home or would get a job somewhere else or whatever, And
or they'd get transferred with the job they were working while trying to make it in the music
business. And there was
a
lot of that as well. I mean, that's, especially in the early 90s, Nashville had a real big boom. Like, they revitalized downtown and...
Oh, they changed downtown from being...
Completely. Oh, man, it was seedy as everything.
When I first moved to town, you didn't go downtown.
No.
Because everyone it was nothing but adult bookstores and
pawn shops and drug dealers and prostitutes. And it literally was one of those things. If you went to Lower Broad, there was a good chance you were going to get mugged or something. I mean, it was just something you did not do. And also the fact the city, like so many other cities in the 70s and 80s, had the... what's been deemed white flight, basically what it is no one lived downtown.
Well, there wasn't any housing downtown.
Well, there was very little. Yeah. There were some apartments and stuff like that, but there were just, no one lived downtown. Everybody lived in the suburbs. Yep. And so it was one of those things, people who worked downtown would come in, and at 5 o'clock when they were done, they would all leave, and downtown was a ghost town.
Yes.
I mean, it was a ghost town until the next day when
7 a.m. when people started rolling
back in again, and it was a lot of homeless, and I mean it was not a place that you wanted to be.
No,
after 5 o'clock.
Well, after getting close to sunset.
Yeah. So we had a mayor. His name was Richard Fulton.
Yeah.
That had this idea, and he wanted to. If you've been in Nashville before, or if you've lived here, I'm sure that most of our listeners are people who are from here or we know.
Thanks to both of you.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
appreciate it.
We appreciate that.
But a lot of folks have visited here because Opryland was here.
Right, we had Opryland, that was a thing. But if you get downtown and you walk all the way down to the end of Broadway to First Avenue, it's right next to the Cumberland River.
Yeah.
That is right there next to the river is Riverfront Park. That has not always been there.
No.
That was something that Richard Fulton
put in.
Like that was they called it Fulton's Folly, because everybody's like, oh, well, you're gonna go down here, you're gonna do this thing, and all you're gonna do is you encourage homeless people to go and sleep down there and blah blah blah.
Why would you give them grass to sleep on?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
that kind of stuff. And so they did that, and they also put a larger police presence down there to keep that kind of stuff from happening. And then
they needed a larger police presence down there.
They really did. They really did with everything that was going on just up the block from them.
Yeah.
But in the process of doing that, he also got this idea to revitalize what's known as the District, which is basically from 1st to 4th Avenue.
Yeah.
So, and that would encompass Lower Broadway.
Yep.
And all that kind of stuff.
So and starting to bleed over into what is now known as Sobro, which is South Broadway.
Exactly. So it was one of those things that over the next couple of years, 2 or 3 years of that, all of a sudden downtown became a destination. And you were getting a lot more tourists down there, especially on 2nd Avenue, because that was a place where, like, hey, we're going to go in here. Really and truly, all they had for the longest time was there was an old spaghetti factory, and there was Mayor Bull's, which was a nicer steak place.
It was a high-end steak place.
Which was really funny because the rest of that place was just a trash heap, and you couldn't walk out the front door without getting hit up for money.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just, that's what happened.
It's one of those things where you'd take your girlfriend down there and you were going to spend somewhere between $125, $150 for dinner.
Yeah, probably.
Which is why most of it,
a whole lot of money back in the
which is why
80s.
Most of us ate in the trolley car at Spaghetti Factory.
Spaghetti Factory was great because it wasn't very expensive, but it was deemed a higher class, But so it was one of those things. You go at that. There was also Demos that was down there on 3rd. It's
Demos is still there.
Yeah, but that was the other place. It was right there on 3rd and Commerce, which is just right up from Spaghetti Factory. So. And of course, again, to anybody who doesn't know downtown Nashville, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
But the thing is in doing that and making 2nd Avenue a destination and a tourist spot, and they opened a lot of like new bars, and they opened a lot of like retail.
They got Gaylord to actually come down there and put in the Wild Horse.
The Wild Horse Saloon went in there, and so the cool thing with that was that Gaylord owned Opryland and they owned the Wild Horse, and they had the riverboat, the General Jackson, ran between the two. Like you could get on it over at Opryland and ride all the way to downtown, and ride back as well. So that also became a thing. And so it was one of those cool things that you would get we got that kind of stuff, and so that all started revitalizing. In turn, that also made Lower Broad clean up.
Yes, finally.
And so it was one of those things that all of a sudden it was a place you could go and not have to worry about getting stabbed or hit up for money or or any of that kind of stuff. And so
I moved to town just in time for it to clean up to where I could go down there to all the music venues.
And there were a bunch of music venues and clubs that were in the area.
Yeah.
So I remember, because I turned 18 in 92. I remember, okay, I'm going to go back to this. Living here, okay, being a kid, and I remember when I was a little kid even.
Yeah.
Having a bedtime and hating it. Having to go to bed at like 8 o'clock or something.
Everybody hates that bedtime.
But the thing for
me... Now
it's
a reward.
Oh, I know. But the thing is for me, I hated it because I always felt like there was something going on somewhere that I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what that was for the longest time. But I mean, like, all the way through, there's something going on, and it's downtown. I know it's downtown. I mean, even when downtown wasn't a place to go, I knew that somewhere down there was something that was for me. I just didn't know what, And so that became a thing, after I graduated high school. A lot of times my friends and I, we would go down there, usually to West End area, There were some cool places down there next to Vanderbilt. There were some cool places. That's when Tower Records was still down there.
All the neat college stores that pop up around a
Tower Records
university.
was down there. Stone Mountain was there, which was this head shop, basically. And
but it was a corporate head shop.
Yeah, it was. It was locally owned. It was, but it was one of those. I don't know that they actually sold bongs in there. I don't remember that.
Yeah, they did.
I'm sure
I saw them around.
Probably did. But that's where you would go to get your black light posters and your tie-dyed or the different band T-shirts in general.
Yeah, different band T-shirts.
And that was always
hip jewelry.
Yeah, exactly.
Those woven belts.
Yes.
Everybody had.
No, and don't forget the cat in the hat.
Oh,
the hat, so you could go to your raves, that was like the big thing, No one was going to raves around here that I know of. Well, I never went to one, okay? But it was...
They were around.
I know they were around.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Every once in a while you'd go into a club and somebody would be wearing one of those hats or something, and it was like, okay, I see what they're trying to do. But it was that type of... there was stuff. As years went on, we started getting further and further into actual downtown proper.
Yes.
I remember one of the big places going to when I was in that age, like that 18 to 21, 22 year was the Music City Mix Factory.
Yes.
Which was on the south side of Broadway.
That was in the Sobro district.
Yeah. And it was a
multi-layered dance
I think it was,
club.
Five
stories.
Yeah.
It had a roof.
Yeah, and there was a roof also. Yeah. And that was the way that they one floor is they had bands that played on one floor.
Yeah.
They had
They had country line dancing.
They had country line dancing on one floor. They had one floor. It was actually two floors that were together, but it was a big dance. Dance floor. DJ and everything. And then there was. I know there was a roof. You could go to the roof, and it was just a regular outside. It
was kind of hangout, chill.
Yeah, and they had it because I think they advertised like 7 and 1 or something like that. But it was one of those things that became a, hey, we're going to go there, because it was packed and there was a lot of people our age. I'm not a dancer, so it was a go and just hang out.
See, you were going there. I was going a couple doors down to Ace of Spades to watch bands.
The Ace of Clubs.
Ace of Clubs. That's what it was. Ace of Clubs.
That was a little further down. I've been in there a few times myself. I missed that place. That was a cool venue. Which later became Bar Nashville, which Bar was a corporate, that was a
They destroyed that little club.
That Bar Nashville, man, I got stories about that place.
Yeah.
And
then later on in that same area, you had Have a Nice Day Cafe.
Have a Nice Day Cafe was right there. And people still talk about, of a certain age, still talk about Have a Nice Day Cafe. I was never huge on it. And it was everything that you think it was. There was a big smiley face on the floor, and it was tie-dyed. It was all 60s and 70s,
but they were playing hippie, all the latest hip-hop.
But and their big thing was the Happy Bowl.
Yeah, you had a glass fish bowl that had basically every type of liquor.
Is what it was. I mean, it was with Kool-Aid. I mean, and it was one of those things of you drink one of those things and it'll put you on your butt, man.
Somebody had talked me into going one night, and I was like, yeah, okay. And we walked in. I saw one of those walking by because they evidently had like a black light that floated in the bowl or something.
They did all kinds of weird stuff like that.
And I was like, what is that? And they explained it to me. And I was like, nope, I'm out of here.
I participated in the Happy Bowl a couple of times.
Of course you did.
The back then I would if it had alcohol in it, you put it in front of me, I'd drink it.
Yeah.
Another thing, we had one big gay club here in Nashville. It was the Connection, Music City Connection, which was not downtown. It was outside. I mean, it was like
it was in the industrial area.
It was in a rough part of town, is where it
kind
was.
Of east of Nashville. It was.
It was more in North Nashville.
Well, North Nashville, but it was an industrial area.
It was, and literally because there was I know. Metro Ready Mix and a couple of places like that were right there on that same road. It was basically you went all the way down to the end of this road.
It was like out past the stockyard or something.
Oh yeah, it was way past that. But you would go all the way down there, and it was a warehouse, that they had, and there was the dance floor, and then there was they had where they did the drag shows and stuff. And we went, God, I've been out there, I don't know how many times. And
somehow I never made it over to that one.
That was fun. There was also the Shoot, which was over.
I remember hearing about that place, but I didn't.
It was over in Melrose, which again was out of downtown, south side of Nashville, and that was a much smaller place, and it was their big thing was they had a drag show also, but they mainly ran a lot of karaoke and stuff like that. It was a bar more than anything, it wasn't really a club as much. I had friends that I had a friend that ran karaoke. I had two different friends that ran karaoke out there. And then just the crowd I was hanging out with at the time, we were kind of doing the rounds of all that stuff, and so I wound up all over the place. We had a good time. I enjoy. I'll tell you, I enjoyed going to the Shoot more than the Connection. I enjoyed going to the Shoot because I would go in there and drink free all night. I won't even lie about that. I was like, oh well, you mean I'm the attractive one here?
You tease.
I was always up front. Hey, I'm not, but yeah, sure, I'll take the drink. That's not a problem.
You're a tease.
But that I had a lot of fun out at that place. Not for that. I almost got kicked out of there one night because me and my girlfriend at the time were making out, and like we turned around, like everybody's sitting around looking at us. It's like, hey. It's like one of these things is not like the other, you know. But the connection was really cool. Again, we were talking about the drink. We're talking about drinking now, because their thing was that this is in the late 90s, so Zima was a thing still. Oh. And what they would do is, if you ordered a Zima, they would put a Jolly Rancher in it, so it would give it an extra drink. But I also had seen them put the little
the flashy lights in it.
Either the flashy lights or just the little the glow sticks, the little small glow sticks down in those bottles as well. Which I'm always like, if one of those things breaks, you're drinking some really toxic stuff.
Yeah, you're poisoned. You're now dead.
What was funny is I ran into somebody I went to high school with out there one night, and it was one of those, I saw him at the end of the bar.
Yeah,
and I was like, hey. You know, and I was out there with my best friend Kim and her girlfriend, you know, and so it was one of those, we would do that kind of stuff, you know, and so I saw him. I'm not gonna mention names. I saw him, and I'm like walking around the corner, and I'm like, I yelled at him, you know, and he turns around and sees me, and he starts doing this, like he's looking around like everywhere, like, who else is here? You know, like, and I'm sitting there talking to him, you know, and I'm like, okay, hey, blah, 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 blah. And he's like really uncomfortable, you know, and it was one of those things that the reason that I saw him was because I was standing at the bar waiting for a drink.
Yeah.
And I looked over, and there were these two really hot girls making out, like right there at the bar, and he was standing like on the other side of them. So eventually my gaze went from them to, hey, I know that guy. And, so it was one of those things that, you know, he walked in, like I said, I ran him down, and I started talking like, yeah, you know, blah, 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 I'm here with some friends and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. He's like, okay, cool. And there was like this awkward, like, little bit of time. He's like, I'm not gay. I'm like, okay, me either. He's like, no, really, I'm not gay. I'm like, dude, I'm here too. It's all right. It's, you know. And he was like, no, really, I'm not. I'm like, I get it. It's fine. I didn't put the two. I was thinking he was there the same reason I was. It was later that I was like, oh, there's a reason he was there. But to me, it was just like, hey, I'm here. I'm not.
He was afraid you were going to out him.
Yeah, I never did, you know, but it was just kind of one of those, I wouldn't have anyway, you know, but it was just kind of one of those things of like, didn't expect to see that person here, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that place has been gone for a long time. The shoot's been gone for a long time. Some of these places are no longer with us because of there's been more growth.
Yeah. Rent went up.
Rent went up.
Couldn't afford to keep the place.
Also, scenes change.
Yeah.
Things that were there, you know. Now, I'm saying all this because I'm trying to think if there was anywhere else that was really kind of a happening. Oh, Underground. Forgot about the Underground.
Before we get to North Broadway.
Well, but I'm just talking about places that are not music venues, like just other. Like that's what I'm kind of getting into.
Yeah. So the
Underground was not. That was
probably the only place that was a dance club that I actually would go into.
Yeah, and that was
pure techno, trance.
It was
some industrial.
It was a semi-goth club. I say semi because it wasn't completely, but that's where all the goths went to. Yeah, and
there was also kind of a vampire bar there too.
Yeah, so. I know. There was a couple of that kind of stuff. And this is, again, early, mid-'90s when all that stuff was really chic, you know. And I know that was when I went to college. A lot of people always tell me, oh, we went to the Underground, And, like, I remember going in the first time and being like, this is it. Okay. I mean, it was just kind of, all right, whatever.
I was in there for the music because that was back when techno was actually decent.
Yeah,
it wasn't all this EDM and trap and all that.
Yeah, again, we're talking about in the 90s.
Yeah,
so.
And I was a big trance guy anyway.
Yeah. That they didn't run the right kind of drink specials for me. So that I always back then especially I was more into like, oh, what kind of drinks do they got going? You know, is this blah blah blah? You know.
Yeah.
I did go and hang out at the Wild Horse some. A friend of mine used to. There was a show that used to air on CMT, Live at the Wild Horse Saloon, you know, and Katie Haas, who was one of their on-air personalities, used to host it. And they would do they would do television tapings on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
And they were called the Wild Hoss Dancers. Like, they had this group that you could join in. They would do, like, special stuff or whatever. It was all the country line dance. I never danced. I was not a country line dancer. Okay, I was there to drink and hang out and look at the girls. That was about it. So I would go down there with her sometimes, or meet her down there. And so I got to know, like, a big chunk of the dancers and stuff, and that kind of stuff, and then met other people. And, we had a real scene for a while, there for a year or so. And then
country line dancing was huge.
I know, I know. And again, you'd never see me out there because I have no rhythm whatsoever. And you're more likely to get kicked in the shins or something if I got, was trying something. So, but it was just a place to hang out, and we were down there a lot.
Yeah.
And again, doormen knew us, didn't have to pay to get in. They were just like, yeah, come on, you're in here all the time. It's, type stuff. There's been a few places like that around that again, non-music venue.
Yeah.
And this was kind of what spurred our conversation here.
Well, if you want to get into that, a couple places that me and my friends would hang out at was Market Street Brewery. Mm-hmm. We would go in there and get dinner before we do it.
Because they had really good food there.
Oh, they had a full Irish pub fare.
Right,
I'd go in there and get bangers and mash and other stuff. Or we'd go over to the Irish bar, Mulligan's.
Mulligan's, yeah.
And we'd go in there and we'd play darts and we'd eat. And, pre-game in there.
Yeah, Mulligan's is another one of those places that miss. That was...
Honestly, I found a replacement for Mulligan's.
Okay.
I really... It's my place.
It's not McNamara's, is it?
Oh, it's absolutely McNamara's.
Okay, yeah, I've been in there a few times. And it's restaurant more than anything.
No, it's an honest-to-God Irish pub. It's owned by an Irishman who opened it so he could have a place to play Irish music whenever
I get that,
he wanted
but it's also one of those things that's not 21 and up, though, because you can actually go in there and eat with kids and stuff.
Well, they got a sports bar upstairs.
Yeah, that must be news. The last time I was there.
No, it's been there the whole time. Most people just don't know about it. They've got pool tables and dartboards and everything else upstairs.
Hey, I used to be able to throw down some darts, and...
I was a pool guy.
Yeah, I loved playing darts, even sober. Matter of fact, I've got a dartboard that used to hang up here in the house.
Dude, we used to play all the time. Hang that back up.
I know. I've thought about that a few times. So that's because I even have the backer. I've got one of the places I used to hang out was at Bailey's, which again is a corporate, up here in Rivergate. That was just up the street.
I've done my fair share of time at Bailey's.
But one day we were in there and we knew one of the assistant managers, and they were taking down. They were replacing the real dartboards for those automated ones, I know, but they were taking it down, and it was one of the Budweiser, the backers, the red, that you put behind them, so
with the chalkboards and all that, yeah.
And no, it didn't have the chalkboards. It was one of those that it was just the big.
Oh, just
the big red, that had it was basically to keep the walls from having holes all in it, And she was taking it down, and we were like, "Hey, what are you going to do with that?" And she was like, "I don't know. You want it?" And I'm like, "Yes." So nice. I got one of those for free. I'm like, "Yeah, Kimberly,
we need to hang that up."
Yeah, they used to hang, and like I said, we used to play quite a bit, but it's been a while.
I've actually got a set of darts at the house.
I need to get some new ones if we're going to do that because I lost I lost several of the flies on the ones that I had. So.
I've got the flags. I may have to get a new set because I think the set I got is a little too heavy, front heavy.
Yeah, you get a look. Yeah, and that's one of those things you can get into really customizing stuff.
Yeah,
and so anyway, what was I talking about? Okay, so.
Mulligan's.
There was Mulligan's. The other place that was down on 2nd Avenue was actually it was on Church between 1st and 2nd. And Dave was there with us a few times, but not much. But me and this whole
wasn't really
other
my
group,
scene.
was the Beer Cellar.
Beer Cellar.
And Tall Paul was a local musician that we all loved that would play on Thursday nights. And it was 2 for 1. And the Aardvarks, we ran that place.
Better explain what the Aardvarks are.
It was just basically we were old school before that movie came out is what it was. Okay, we were a bunch of guys that were in our late 20s and early 30s who were still trying to act like we were in college. And my house was essentially a frat house. Yeah. And this place was called Sanctuary South.
Yeah.
Another story in that, the reason why it was South. And it was just we were always there. We were there so much that we would come in and sit down and wouldn't even have to order. They would just go and bring our beer out to us.
Wow.
They would also, there are several times that we walked out without paying. not necessarily on purpose. You get to, hey, we're going to go somewhere else or whatever, and then you forget to pay or whatever, and you come back, it's like, I think I forgot to pay. And they're like, oh, yeah, we got you right here. We need you to be back. So, I mean, it was just kind of one of those. Everybody always got paid. Everybody, it was just they were always like, we know you're coming. I mean, it was the doormen knew us. We didn't have.
It was your version of Cheers.
It really was. I mean, we come walking down the stairs to get into the place, and they were like, everybody else is having to stand there and like either everybody's having to show their ID and usually pay a
cover
charge, and they were just like, yeah, you guys go ahead, just
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we were there that much, and
I've seen it happen, folks.
Yeah, and it was kind of that last hurrah before we were supposed to grow up. And of course, some of us still didn't. And
I won't name names.
Yeah, and then they got sad after a while. But that place is still here. It's still there.
Yeah.
I know they switched owners at one point and a few things, but it's not what it was. That part of town is not what it was. There were other places in town eventually over the years. Over on Demumbrian, which was over closer to Vandy and Belmont and different places like that. So the college students had a place to go that wasn't that far.
Yeah.
And so they didn't have to come all the way downtown. And that kind of killed a lot of...
That killed some of it, but honestly, let's call it the TV show Nashville turned this place into an it city, and it's gone full...
But even before that...
Full bore tourist downtown.
That's all of downtown, like... A lower Broad now.
Yeah.
It's all corporate bars.
Yeah.
And usually it's like...
And a lot of them are owned by the Opry Group.
Well, and, it'll have like, there's like Old Red, which is the dirt... what's his name?
That's Blake Shelton's place. And then got Jason Aldean's got a place down there.
Dirk Bentley has a place. What's his name?
That garbage band Florida Georgia Line's got a place down there.
Yeah. Who is it?
John Rich has got a place down there.
John Rich has got one. Kenny Chesney's got a... Or is it Chesney? No. Luke Bryan has a place. Kid Rock has a place down there.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the difference is Kid Rock is probably in there 5 nights a week hanging out and talking to folks.
He got in trouble in there a few months back. So.
He's always getting in trouble in there.
But it's one of those things where that's all those places are down there. There's still, if you want to come to Nashville and see like traditional,
there's
Nashville,
still places around.
If you go down to it's the corner of Broadway and Fifth, on the north side, not on the south side, on the north side. You've got the Ryman is right there on Fifth, which is really cool. But then you've got Tootsie's and Legends Corners, and the Stage and Robert's Western World and Layla's and the Bluegrass Inn and like all these, and these are all like places that have been around a long time that some legends have played in over the years.
Tootsie's, for anybody who's not familiar with the history of Tootsie's, Tootsie's back door backs up to the Opry's back door. And
there's an alleyway between the two.
Yeah, and a lot of time, and we're talking like Hank Williams used to slip out the door and over into Tootsie's.
Yeah, I mean this has been around for a long time. That was the big thing is that a lot of those guys would leave and women would leave through they would do their thing at the Opry and then they would leave out the back back exit and then go right straight in the back door of Tootsie's. And
well, I remember being in high school and going down there, and Robert's Western Wear was a boot place.
Yeah.
That they turned into a bar so that BR45.
Oh yeah, BR549.
Yeah, BR459. And I remember standing on you couldn't get in the place when they were playing, so you'd stand on the street and watch them from the window.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's plenty of places like that. That was down there it's still down there, but the further the lower on Broad you get, the worse it gets as far as just corporate
tourist
trap. I mean, it has become little. We kind of joke around here sometimes. It has become a mini Las Vegas.
Yeah,
is all it really is, and it's all bachelorette parties. They're everywhere.
Oh,
they are
girls
everywhere, and a lot, and a lot of not just bachelorette parties, but a lot of girls' weekends.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll tell you this much: if you want to come to Nashville and see some attractive women, you want to see some attractive women, go down there on a week. Hey, let me tell you, I drive for rideshare.
Yeah,
they're everywhere. Okay, now they're all 22 and a lot of them are falling down drunk, and just like that's not fun to deal with. But it's just in general because I have had somebody get sick in my car at least once, and that's not fun to deal with. And also just the loud talking and everything else. But
the places that I went that I remember, once again, we're getting it's like 4th Avenue, South Broad. 328 Performance Hall.
328 Performance Hall was at the corner of 4th, and I can't remember what the name of the road was now. These days, it is Korean Vets Boulevard.
Yeah, they
that
tore
runs
it
down through there. They extended the road like all the way. They tore down several buildings, but basically, if you're traveling west on Vietnam Vets Boulevard and you get to the corner of 4th Avenue, you are sitting on top of where 328 Performance Hall used to be if you're at that red light.
And the bands that I saw at 328, it's just, there's actually a website online where you go and look at all of the set list and everything and the bands that...
And we're back. Sorry about that, folks. Had to
go
deal take with care of a dog problem and also get something really cool for us to talk about here.
Yeah. But there was 328,
328
and then just up the street from it was a place that started out as a club called Blue Sky Court, which was kind of a coffee bar music listening room.
Right.
It's the first place I ever had like a cappuccino or anything like that.
It's fancy.
Oh, yeah, it was. I mean, that was back in the day before Starbucks had proliferated like Walgreens.
I know.
Plus, it had the listening room. It had like little private rooms where you sit around and visit. It had had like board games laid out to where you could sit around and play board games. It had a huge table in the back to where every once in a while there'd be people back there playing Dungeons and Dragons on this big huge table.
Okay.
And later it turned into a full-blown music bar called the Phoenix, which me and my buddy Kevin went to, I think, 3 nights a week on the weekends at some point. And it got to the point to where we would show up and we knew the guy at the door, and we'd sit out there and talk to him for a little bit. And he was like, all right, go on in, guys.
Yeah.
And between that and Windows on the Cumberland and the listening room, which was kind of over the top of Mulligan's and some of those buildings there, I was always in the music rooms.
Yeah. Windows on the Cumberland was this cool little. I mean, it was a little place.
It was a hole in the wall.
Yeah, and it was on 2nd Avenue, but it was one of those things you had to walk through.
It was one of those little it had a door, and it was an alleyway that had like all these little bitty shops.
Yeah, and like there was like a what was it? It was like there was a little counter, like a kind of like a lunch counter that was in there. You know, usually they sold like hot dogs or different kind of
sandwiches.
Stuff. Yeah, and then there was a downstairs drinks. Also, and I remember at one point there was a head shop that was down there.
Yeah, there was
a tattoo parlor that was down there, and there was a mini Great Escape that was down there.
Well, there was also Goddess in the Moon, which was an occult shop that was down there.
That's true. And but in the upstairs, I remember there was some kind of ice cream place that was there. I can't remember the name of it though.
It was never open when I was down there. It was only open during the day.
No, they were open at night because I ate there a few times.
Really?
Yeah, and it was right. It was literally one of those things that was right there. And then the next thing you went to was Windows on the Cumberland.
Oh,
and it was this cool little Windows on the Cumberland was a cool little place because you walk in, little bitty place. Like maybe the size of, like, of course nobody can see. Maybe the size of the room we're in right now in my house. But it was one of those things you would walk in, and the bar was immediately back to your right, and it was in the corner.
Well, you would walk in, and there was a staircase immediately to your right that would go upstairs to the balcony. The bar was underneath the balcony, and then it would open up.
That was on the left.
No, it was on the right. It was on the right, but staircase
was on the left next to the stage.
Was it?
Yeah.
It's been a while since.
I know it's like a thing because the thing is that there was a balcony.
No, you're right. It was.
The bar
on the
was
left.
on the right hand side, and
it was underneath the balcony because the balcony wrapped all the way around the room,
which was cool because it was one of those things that it was a stage. It was a small stage, like it wasn't like very elevated or anything, but it was kind of cool because there was a balcony.
Yeah,
and so it was one of and then the reason why it was called Windows on the Cumberland is that there were all these windows that overlooked the Cumberland River
and First Avenue.
So it was like, and there was a lot of times, especially in the summer, that they would open those windows.
Oh yeah.
And so it was, the people down on, down the street could hear you.
Yeah.
And
I think they could hear you on the river if you're going by the General Jackson.
I know, that's true. But it was a cool. I saw of course, was it Fluid Tuesday used to play there a lot.
Yeah, and, my buddy James's band.
Yeah, and we would go and listen to them, and then our friend John Burke was in a band called The Loft.
I remember them. Yeah,
and so it was one of those things. They played there a lot. As a matter of fact, those were the two bands that closed the place down.
The Loft usually opened up for Fluid Tuesday.
That's what it started.
Yeah,
and then Loft
it swapped after a while.
But that was when they closed in 06, 07, somewhere around in there.
Yeah,
that was the last show. Was those two bands played, and it was kind of one of those.
I still got that CD that I worked on with
Fluid Tuesday.
I've
got a copy of that here somewhere. I've got a whole bunch of local CDs.
I do
around here somewhere.
I do too. Or bands that came through and played those little clubs and all that.
One of the things we were going to, because we kind of touched on it, 328 Performance Hall.
Oh, yeah.
328 Performance Hall was this old, I think it used to be a refinery of some sort or something. It was definitely some kind of industrial, something. The cool thing about it is that you would walk in and everything was wood in there. It was old. I mean, it was old, like the tongue and groove.
It was wood and concrete.
Yeah. And which was murder on the knees, and the ankles and stuff.
Because the floor you stood on to watch the bands were concrete,
man, and it was, and there was no give to that.
No,
whatever. Believe me, I've been in a few pits in that place. And there was no give.
Yeah, I stage dove in that place one point.
I can't imagine you stage diving.
I stage dove, and they didn't really catch me.
Yeah,
they kind of slowed me down going to the floor.
But it was kind of cool because there was a bar outside, and there was a bar inside I would say outside, out in like the hallway, and then there was a bar in the actual performance room.
Yeah.
But there was also another room back in the back that they would have on the weekends. It was Johnny Jackson's Soul Satisfaction.
Yeah.
And Johnny Jackson was a local DJ who would spin 70s and 80s, old school, like soul and and funk and all that kind of stuff.
And blues.
It was great, man. That place, and that went on. As a matter of fact, I think they moved 3
or 4 times.
When 328 finally closed, I know Johnny Jackson's continued in another couple places, but he hasn't done anything in a long time.
No.
And, there was a Facebook group of people, that had gone there, all that kind of stuff. It was kind of cool because every once in a while they would post pictures. I'm like, oh man, that takes me back. But 328 Performance Hall, though. Okay.
Yeah.
The first show I went to was Saigon Kick.
Oh wow.
This was in March of 1993.
Okay.
It's the first show I went to there.
I'm trying to think what the first show I went to.
And this was when they were touring for The Lizard.
Yeah.
And great. That was the night I watched. I was like, I like these guys. These guys are cool,
Yeah.
And then I saw them again later that year.
He's actually over here looking at a book of
I've got a book
Ticketmaster
of concert tickets.
Yeah.
I saw them. I saw Strutter, which is a Kiss cover band that toured.
I remember
all
them.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Every Mother's Nightmare, which is a local metal band, played there.
I remember them.
Eric Gale's band.
Yeah.
Which we talked about on one of our forgotten.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who else do I have here that I saw at that place? Everclear. That was in 96.
My bands were a little bit more eclectic than yours then.
Hold on. Anthrax. I saw Anthrax there.
How'd I miss that show? I would have gone to that.
Let's see. I Mother Earth.
Oh, I forgot about
which
that
was
band.
Another forgotten early 90s. King's X.
I think I tried to get tickets to that show and it was sold out.
Typo Negative. I saw it 328.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to, because the reason I'm going through this, and I'm also taking some notes of some other, because Guar. I saw Guar play there. Yes. Who else?
Oh, you know what place that we forgot to mention? That record store over on Church that also
Lucy's.
Yeah, Lucy's Record Shop.
Man,
I saw a lot of shows in there. What was the band? Mount Pilot Fun Girls.
The Fun Girls from Mount Pilot.
Yeah, Fun Girls from Mount Pilot. Yeah.
You know what's funny is I'm sitting here going through Fleming and John. I saw them play there.
Okay.
I'm looking at this and I'm going, I don't have, because the thing is, apparently, I know I saw Buck Cherry play there. I saw Slash's Snake Pit play there in the early 2000s. But the thing with it, I'm getting into, the thing about it is that a lot, and I mean a lot, of bands that would go on to be big played there before, and this is a small sampling. Hootie and the Blowfish played there before, right as Cracked Rear View had come out, and then they got huge right after that. Alanis Morissette played there when she first, when Jagged Little Pill first came out. It was funny watching that because she played there. Then she came back through about 6 months later, and she played at Vandy at their Memorial Gym. Yeah, and then. About 6 months after that, she came through and played Starwood, which was our amphitheater, which is where I actually saw her. I missed her, and I almost went to that show. Weezer played there when they were on the way up. Counting Crows played there when they were on the way up. Marilyn Manson played there when he was on the way up. Yep. And here's one, and I wish to God I could have gone to this show. Yeah. And could have, but opted not to. Well, I didn't really opt not to. The person that I could have gone with opted not to go, and so I wasn't going to go by myself because I was just 18, and it was kind of one of those I don't really want to go to this show by myself. Yeah, this is at 328 Performance Hall. This place held 800 people. That was what the
fire code.
The fire code was 800 people. Yeah, Pantera and White Zombie played there together. This was Vulgar Display of Power.
I'll never. And I went to one Pantera show.
I've been to a couple Pantera shows.
I was at that infamous Pantera show at Starwood where they ripped the seats out.
Oh yeah, I wasn't at that one. No. I missed that one. I saw them at Starwood twice. I did see them at Starwood when they toured with White Zombie on a co-headlining tour. Yeah, this was 95, 96. It would have been 96. It was 96. It was the last tour that White Zombie did.
Something abusive.
No, this was the Far Beyond Driven.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
No, now the one that was the one that was at 328 Performance Hall was the Far Beyond Driven. Yeah. That was right when Far Beyond Driven had come out. It hadn't been out very long at all. And it was them, and White Zombie was a nobody. They had not hit yet. It would be another year before they hit. And Tool played at 328 Performance Hall on the way up.
I saw Tool at Lollapalooza when they came through at Starwood.
Yeah, that was later. I saw Matchbox 20 played there when they were. I'm just when they were on. Yeah. It was one of those shows that you would. Dave Matthews Band played there before they hit big.
I saw Mighty Mighty Bosstones play there. I saw Urge Overkill play there.
You know who played there back in the very early 90s that I wish to God I could have gone and seen? Public Enemy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
328, yep.
I saw Pavement there.
Yeah.
I believe it was Pavement. I saw, I don't know how many times I saw Webb Wilder play there.
Oh, yeah.
That
was like Valhalla. Yeah. I saw them countless times, man. There's a local metal band for people that don't know.
Forgotten about Valhalla.
They were still trying to keep the metal alive through the grunge years. And
yeah.
Let's see. What I'm trying to think. Oh, the big one that I saw at 328 Performance Hall that I do not have a ticket stub for because it was announced day of was in 1994. A couple months after the Amorica album came out.
Oh, Black
Crowes played there. They played under a different name. It was OD Jubilee was what they were called. Yeah. And it was basically they were warming up to go out on tour. Yeah. And they did a show in Atlanta, and they did one here as warm-ups at 320 Performance Hall. Again, held 800 people.
Yeah.
There were way more than 800 people in that place. I mean, it was everybody was if one person moved, everybody moved.
That's how that Mighty Mighty Bosstones concert was. They had a pit going for that, and it was like being trapped in the ocean up to your chest.
There was no pit going in this, okay? Yeah. There were so many people in there that there was no room to move. And, I mean, it was a good show. Don't get me wrong. It was a real good show.
The last show that I saw at 328 before they tore the place down was Beck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Beck played there.
Beck played there and played for 2.5, 3 hours, just him and his band.
That's cool.
I got there a little late, so I was stuck on the very back wall. Mm-hmm. but the bass that they had going in, I kind of had like a loose long sleeve shirt on. The bass they had rolling in that place, my shirt moved every time the bass hit.
I remember,
was crazy.
I can't remember who it was that I saw, who the main act was, but I do know that the two opening acts, one of them was the Electric Hellfire Club, and the other one was Neurosis.
Okay.
And you're getting an Electric Hellfire Club was kind of a techno metal something, 90s, and then Neurosis is kind of this weird audio visual. Have you ever seen them?
No.
They were this weird audio visual band like that. That was like their big thing. Like they had a huge screen behind them, that they were showing all kinds of weird stuff on, and then they were kind of metal, but they weren't really techno, but they were a little more, I guess they were more prog rock than anything, more of a Tool type, where it was, they were metal, but they weren't, like Pantera metal,
Was it more like an industrial type?
It didn't quite get to industrial, but it was, speaking of which, somebody who played there a couple of times was Ministry.
Yeah.
That was one of those things you never knew who you were going to hear.
They would book some killer bands in there.
A lot of bands on the way up.
Another band that played in there under a different title. There was a band that played there they were going by the name of Hovercraft.
Okay.
Turned out to be Pearl Jam.
Oh yeah. I remember. Foo Fighters played there.
Yeah.
Like one of their very first gigs was at 328 Performance Hall. I remember hearing about that Hovercraft.
Yeah.
It was Pearl Jam, and because it was one of those things, it was a big enough venue. Like I said, it would hold about 800 people.
It was a mid-sized venue.
Yeah, it was a larger small. It was a bigger small venue. Because like kind of our mid-sized venue here is the Ryman Auditorium. Because it holds 2,000 people or something like that, and that was kind of the, and then you would get into like Memorial Gym, and that was
War Memorial.
War Memorial is like
auditorium.
No, not War Memorial. At Vandy. It's the Memorial Gym. War Memorial something else. That's a different place.
I saw a lot of concerts over there. My first concert in town, in fact, was Suicidal Tendencies opening up for Queensryche.
Nice.
When they did the double album tour. Where they did Mind Crimes.
And then
took a 15-minute break and then they did them back to back. They did them in order of CD.
Yeah. I would like to. I've seen Suicidal Tendencies in concert before. They're one of those, like, I would. If they got back together and went on tour, I would go see them.
That's actually who I went to go see was Suicidal Tendencies, and that's where I discovered Queensryche.
Right.
So,
but I mean, it's I really need to. Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there were. How do we put this delicately?
We're about to get in trouble, aren't we?
At one point, Nashville was a lot more fun than it is now.
Oh, no. We're not going to put that delicately at all. Nashville was a lot more fun than what it is now, period.
Let's put it this way. In the 90s, all the way up to the early 2000s, per capita, okay, Nashville had more churches and more strip clubs than any other city in America.
I wasn't going to go there. I was going to go with we had more music clubs, and there was a lot more music going on.
Dude,
in the
at one point, there were strip clubs all over this place. I used to. I'm not speaking for Dave at this point. I'm speaking for myself. We used to frequent quite a few of them.
You used to frequent.
That's what I said. I said I'm not speaking for you. I'm talking about me. Nowadays there's 2 in town. I think. I don't know. It's and I'll tell you.
I don't know.
My last. Honestly, I know there are 2, and the reason why I know this is because one of them is Deja Vu, which is it's a chain, which you can imagine a chain, but they're in a bunch of cities. It's been around here for a long time, but it's one of the few that is still like running in town, and so I actually wind up running a lot of tourists over there. And so it's like, well, yep, that's still running. Okay, there you go,
Okay.
And then there's Crazy Horse. The last time I went to a strip club at all was Crazy Horse. There are 2 reasons I would never go back to that place ever. There are 2 words that will sum up why I will never go back to that place again.
Okay.
pregnant stripper. And I mean like 6 months pregnant.
Hold on. Wait. Full stop.
Yeah, I guess girls got to make money, but still.
Just... I don't know how. I don't. Yeah, I have nothing to follow up with.
Yeah, but my apologies to any family members that are listening to this right now. But so I'm not hiding anything here. Yeah, it really was. There was a pregnant stripper, man. I mean, and it was like not so like she was probably 6 months. It was just like, wow. Yeah, we're gone. That's it.
All right, I am Big Dave. That's Alan Smith. It's been fun doing the podcast.
But anyway, like I said, there was maybe we'll have to reserve that for a different time. But I can talk about how much fun Nashville was at one point. But it was
that went in such a different direction than I was expecting.
Well, the thing. There are not as many music venues downtown as there used to be. I'll admit that. There is that also.
There's not as many music venues around Nashville as a whole anymore.
Right.
I mean, even the suburbs used to have decent music clubs.
There are still a few of them around. There's the 5 Spot, obviously, over,
but it's been taken over by tourists thanks to that show, and Nashville.
Nashville has done the show, the television show Nashville has done
a lot to screw this town up. Thank you, guys.
Well, I don't think that the city... No, USA Today is the reason that this town is screwed up as it is, because they're the ones who came out with the whole, Nashville's a new it city. And within 6 months, they had that show in production. Yeah. I mean, it was like, that's a new it city. We need to... ABC is like, hey, we need to capitalize on this. And... Sure enough. Now, one of the great things I loved about it, because I did watch that show like from beginning to end.
I didn't.
I loved watching it simply because I'm like, okay, I want to see how screwed up their sense of geography is this week. Because
I get that.
That was so much fun. Here's a little secret for any of you who have never been to Nashville. If someone says, you probably have heard of the Bluebird Cafe. Okay? Yeah. Bluebird Cafe is not in downtown Nashville at all. It's not even anywhere near downtown Nashville.
It's not even walking distance from Nashville.
A western suburb of Nashville
called Green Hills.
And it's in a little strip mall. Yep. Like, it was one of those things where you're like, really, this is it? Yeah. So anytime that you would see somebody on that show talk about, hey, we're going to go over to the acting like they're going to go over to the Bluebird from they're downtown, let's go to the Bluebird. No, that is a good 20-minute trip. Okay.
By car.
And
that's if you don't get caught in traffic.
Yes, and because Hillsborough Road that it's on is notorious for traffic. I mean, notorious for it.
Okay. When you go to the mall at Christmas and you can't go anywhere because all the traffic's backed up and it's really slow.
You're older and that remembers when malls were like that.
Well, that's true. That's Hillsborough Road.
It is all the time.
All year round.
Yeah. In the morning and in the afternoons especially, it's just terrible.
The only time you can actually really travel up and down Hillsborough Road unencumbered is like 1 a.m.
Oh, believe me, I know. From driving from rideshare, I know about this. Yeah. Okay. One of the other things that they screwed up on there one time, which is great, was that we have a pedestrian bridge that runs from Nissan Stadium, where the Tennessee Titans play. It's across the Cumberland River from downtown. Yep. And there is it used to be the Shelby Street Bridge, but it was in disrepair, so they built a different bridge, and then that one they took it and they made it a pedestrian bridge. So you can legitimately park over in the stadium parking lot and walk across the bridge into downtown, and type thing. And it's kind of cool, especially when it's nice out, and that kind of stuff. There was an episode of the show where they were at
Soundcheck doing rehearsals.
Was it Soundcheck?
Yeah, it was Soundcheck.
Which is all the way over across town. I mean, like all the way over across town.
Okay, if you get on Google Maps and you look up Top Golf, Soundcheck is just like a block and a half over.
Right, which is, you can see downtown, all of downtown from over there because it's that far away.
And they go, like, let's go for a little walk.
And then they like, walk out and they go right up the pedestrian bridge. It's like, no.
You see them walk out the door of Soundcheck, which is like the professional place for all the national acts to practice at and get their shows ready and all that. And you see them walk out the door, and then you see them walk around a corner, and then they're on the they're on the pedestrian bridge.
Right. And it's like, no, that's not how that
works. That's a 20-minute drive.
Yes. Without traffic.
Without traffic.
Okay. The other thing that I loved about that show was the Bluebird itself, because all the stuff that they shot interiors of that place were on a sound stage.
Yeah.
Because the Bluebird is tiny.
Yeah.
Like, there is nowhere near as much space in that place as they made it out to
They
be.
Basically had to go in and recreate the interior of the Bluebird.
They did a good job.
Yeah.
But they made it much larger than it actually was.
The only way they can get all that crap in there.
But it...
And folks, if you're coming to town to go to the Bluebird, you want to go early.
You also have to get tickets.
Yeah, you've got to get tickets. You got to go early.
And you have to go stand in line.
Yeah. And there's still a chance that you're probably not getting in.
There is a good chance of that. And I mean, I've never been to the Bluebird.
I've
drive
past it.
I've dropped plenty of people off over there. I've been past it God knows how many times, but it's just one of those like, all right. But because the thing is there will be a line out the door. I mean, literally there is a line at the door to get in. And again, if you bought tickets, you get preference, but that still doesn't mean you're going to get in. So I mean, it's something. It's not what you imagine it to be, is what it comes down to. Nashville is a wonderful city, or at least it's still a wonderful city. Okay, it's just that we
have a tourist problem. No offense to the tourists.
And by tourists, I mean we had a bunch of tourists that moved to town and they haven't left yet. Is what it is. That's the
some offense to the tourists.
I mean, and it's one of those things that I know a lot of people.
Airbnb has made it worse. Yeah,
people who have been here for a long time or grew up here like I did, who are really upset about this new Nashville. Okay, I'm not as much, because the flip side of that is that we could have been stagnant or been in the negative growth. Yeah, and that could be a real problem. But
you've got to find a happy medium.
The problem is
somewhere.
that over the last decade or so, they have massively overbuilt, and the prices have gone through the roof.
I don't mind growth and expansion. You've got to have that if you want to keep relevant.
We don't want to turn into Detroit. But let's be honest.
But the problem is, they instead of trying to preserve the soul and what Nashville is about, they've come in here and they've gutted it.
They have torn down so many places that legit a lot of music history took place. Yeah. And I'm not talking about local music. I'm talking about like a lot of country music history is gone now because, we don't, we want to put up condos, or we want to do this or that or whatever. And it's like, no, don't you understand? This is
Cannery Row.
They haven't done it yet.
They haven't done it yet, but that's a club we didn't talk about.
The Cannery, Mercy Lounge, and what's called the High Watt. Now, there are three. It's Cannery Ballroom now. Yeah. Those are three places that, have been around for a long time.
Well, Music Mafia.
The John Rich
and all them. They all started over it. That was a Cannery Row thing that they did, Cowboy Troy and Big and Rich and Gretchen Wilson.
And I know all of those. And
Kid Rock used to go over there and play every once in a while.
And that's still, but the bad thing with that is that property has sold recently. Yeah. Which, it's like, you're going to go
to out of town developers.
Yeah. So you're going to go in there and tear all that down and
build
that
condos.
Yeah. And we didn't even get into like some of the bands that played at the Cannery. Nine Inch Nails back when they were on the Pretty Hate Machine tour, like their first tour, played the Cannery. Different. There's been several. Jackal played there several times, and that when they
Jackal
were coming
played
up,
everywhere. Around town.
I know, because they were just down the road in Atlanta.
They loved this town. Yeah. They were up here like every.
They were. I saw Jackal several times here. Matter of fact, they played 328 at one point.
They've played all the major venues in town.
They did, and
Jesse James Dupree and that chainsaw.
Yeah, whatever. And Yeah, that's all I can say about them. They're a fun band, but that's all I can say about them.
Yeah.
So, anyways, now that we have run off anyone who doesn't know anything about Nashville or cares for that matter,
all I'm gonna say is we love Nashville.
We do. I love it. I've got a tattoo of Nashville on my arm, like legitimately. Yeah, I have downtown skyline tattooed on my. We'll get a picture of it in a minute, and put it up on the Instagram.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that, I tried several times to leave, and I always wound up staying. And eventually, I was finally at you know what? This is actually a pretty cool place. So
after I've moved around as much as I have, when we first moved here and moved to where we moved to, I hated it here. I didn't want to be here.
Right.
And then I kind of started discovering myself and here, and I can't imagine living any place else.
And that's
everywhere else is somewhere fun to go visit and then come home.
Right. And that was, like I said, when I was a little kid, I knew there was something going on somewhere downtown.
Yeah.
And for the last couple of years of my teens, all through my 20s, and even into my early to mid 30s, I was usually downtown on the weekends. I mean, that was somewhere at some place, whether it was going to see a concert, whether it was a club, whether it was at a bar, whether it was whatever. Well, just walking around sometimes. You just go down there and just, walk around second
and people watch.
Yeah. And that was,
One of the things I used to enjoy doing, if I wanted to people watch, is Sbarro's was on the corner of Second Avenue and Commerce,
right there.
And they had huge windows, and they had like it wasn't a bar, it was like a bar place to sit and eat.
Right. Yeah.
I would get
like a lunch counter.
Yeah, I would get like a couple 3 slices of those huge Sbarro pieces, slices, and a drink, and I would sit there in that big plate glass window, looking out over Second Avenue and Commerce, and watching the people go by.
Yep. And that's I've eaten many of sobering up piece of pizza or a couple pieces of pizza at that place, and it's I kind of miss Nashville sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I'll have, for some reason I'll have to go down there, and then I'm like, no, I don't miss this place anymore. I'm glad being in the suburbs.
Yep. Well, I want to end the show quoting a bumper sticker that has stayed on one of my cars, on my car for multiple cars.
Right.
Welcome to Nashville.
Now y'all go home.
Yep. I am Big Dave.
Wait a second before we get out of here.
Oh, what?
We have to, tell people where they can find us.
Well, all the social media
places you can find us at projectgenx pod.
He's still getting used to it, folks.
No, at projectgenx pod.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all of them. Instagram, Twitter, Parler,
Facebook.
I'm trying to think. I don't think we're on anything else. That's our email is projectgenxpod@gmail.com.
Yep.
You can get in touch with us there. Tell us about your, what you loved or hate about Nashville.
Or come to town and look around and tell us what you think.
Yeah, exactly. If you need, tips on where to go when you come here. That's one of the things that would drive you for ride shares. Everybody's like, oh, I want to go do all the Nashville stuff. I'm like, no, you want to go do stuff that people in Nashville do.
Yeah.
Like actual Nashvillians, and I would tell them like, hey, Loveless Cafe, go to Centennial Park, go see the Parthenon.
Yeah.
Just different stuff, where
I still do that every once in a while. Because they've got a great art gallery in the basement of that place.
Yeah, they do. And plus the fact there's, on the outside, there's trains and airplanes.
No, the train is gone.
The train's gone. Oh,
the train is gone. No, it's a good thing.
Okay.
And actually, there's still fundraising going on for it.
Okay.
And I know this because my wife's grandfather was actually the fireman on that engine.
Okay.
At one point, that's what one of his jobs was. But there's a group here in town that restores old train engines and trains to put them back on the rails as like tourist deals.
Okay.
And they have actually come and got that engine and firebox, coal box, and they moved that thing to a rail central place. Yeah. And they are completely taking it apart and restoring it bolt for bolt.
That's cool.
And they're going to put it back on the rails and do like tours with it.
That thing's been sitting for since I was a kid.
Me and the group of people that we hung out with in high school actually took senior ad pictures on that train, and we kind of climbed over into the firebox
You're not supposed to
where
do.
you're not supposed to, and had pictures made in it. And this is years before I even knew my wife.
Right,
so.
yeah. But there's some really cool stuff that's not quote unquote touristy. You know, that there are some really cool places that.
Some of my favorite hole in the wall places.
Exactly. Some great
food
restaurants and bars and different places like that that if all you're going to do is go down and get the quote unquote Nashville experience. Yeah. Well, first off, it's not the Nashville experience.
You're getting the fairy tale.
Yeah, you're getting you're getting someone's corporate version of what Nashville is supposed to be.
You're getting the clean marketed version of Nashville.
You get the pedal taverns and all that BS and
I hate.
You ought to have to try to drive downtown on the weekends with those stupid things.
I hate the pedal taverns, the hayride with the tractor. I hate
the party wagon.
The party wagon. I hate the hot tub limo.
All of that stuff, man. It's terrible. So, but yeah, if you want to know where to go in Nashville, send us an email. We can tell you some cool places to go that won't cost you. Country Music Hall of Fame, if nothing else,
dude.
That is worth every dime that you will spend to go in there.
That's worth going down there every time they change the exhibits and see what's new.
And that's the cool thing is that they change exhibits every 6 months or so.
I think Musicians Hall of Fame
is
down there too.
It's down at the Municipal Auditorium.
Yeah, okay.
Which is. It's within walking distance.
Yeah,
it's not direct. It's just on the outskirts of downtown, like just outside of downtown proper. But yeah, there's that. There's all kinds of cool stuff. Also,
you know what I miss going to downtown and just growing guitar.
Yeah, growing guitar, man. I'm glad you brought that up. Growing Guitar was this old guitar shop that had been there for. Ever
and it was the high end,
and it literally was. They had in their vaults. They had guitars that were $200,000 or $300,000.
Yeah,
I mean, like
stuff they've been played
stuff,
by.
Yeah, they had a lot. They had a lot of instruments that had been played by Opry stars and different stuff like that. And it was also one of those things that anytime a band would come into town, they were there.
They were hanging out at Gruen.
Now, it was in a prime spot on Broadway.
Yeah, it was.
And that's why they're not there any longer. It still exists. They're just south of Nashville now.
I didn't realize Gruen was still around.
Yeah, it's over on 8th Avenue now. Oh. They moved when they lost their lease is what happened, and now it's some stupid bar. I don't know what it is.
Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, no. We did have a Planet Hollywood, but it's not here. That's been gone for a long time. We have a Hard Rock, which I don't know how that place stays open.
I remember when that place went in.
I do too, like the mid-90s.
Well, it was after. It was
93 or 94.
It was like more like 95, 96.
Yeah, it was 93, 94.
We didn't have it when I was in the high school band, and we actually went up for Clinton's inauguration and played a bunch of stuff up there.
That was in 92.
That was in 92, and we went to the Hard Rock, and it was a big deal because there wasn't one around our area close enough to go to.
There was one in Atlanta.
Atlanta. We went to the D.C. Hard Rock.
Yeah,
and
I've been in some other Hard Rocks. So
and that was cool. That was the first time I'd ever been to a Hard Rock. And then we got back, and like 2 years later, they're like, "Oh, we're building a Hard Rock."
I think it was 90. It was 94 when they opened it, I believe.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was 90. Yeah, it was 94 when they opened it. I remember that. And I don't know how the place stays open, to be honest, because it used to be kind of a happening spot.
Yeah. Well, they used to have live music in there.
As far as I know, they still have live music.
But it was local live music.
Yeah. And
it was rock music.
Right. Now I think we still have a Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville or something.
Do we?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that when the riot happened a couple months ago, it sustained a lot of damage, but
people had to get them parrot shirts.
I guess. I don't know. They busted out of the windows, all of them that were there. But yeah, I mean, no, I don't know what that. There's a few of those. Like I said, it's another branded bar that's down there. So yeah, but Nashville's. Don't take it for that. There's plenty of other cool places to go besides all that stuff.
Cool places
the other thing I was going to say, we have a hub now. It is caffeineandsleepingpills.com.
Ooh.
Caffeine and A&D sleepingpills.com. All one, together. And
when did we do that?
That's what I've been working on. But yeah, I've been putting up some reviews of stuff, as well as just kind of I've got a Halloween blog on there that I've been doing, as well as I'm finding stuff as we're nearing the most wonderful time of the year.
Yes.
Finding stuff here and there, and also just like I said, there's some reviews and different. It's going to be a lot of stuff. I'm working on getting a few other writers to work on the site. It's going to be pop culture. All of our podcasts are going to be there. Like, you can go there now and listen to all the Project Gen X stuff is on there, and there's going to be some more podcasts coming. We're working on a network, and that's going to be our hub. And so if you go to caffeineandsleepingpills.com, there is a link in the description, and you can go there and see what we got going on. I'm trying to convince Dave to start writing some stuff, and he says he's not really a writer.
Not really a writer. I do better on the technical stuff.
Okay, so yeah, that's our new hub.
You might get lucky, and I might write something and put it through my wife, the editor.
And Dave and I are going to be working on some videos as well. So
you did that on purpose. You did it on purpose. You bought a video camera knowing that I'm a fat guy, knowing it's going to put another 10 pounds on me.
I sent a video. I sent a picture to him the other day. He's like, "Hey, I did a thing," and he's like, "I hate you."
Now I'm going to have to try to start losing some weight because.
Well, there you go. Maybe we can chronicle both of our weight losses. Because we're both working on it.
The reason I went to college for video production is to be behind the camera.
So, but anyways, check caffeineandsleepingpills.com. It's going to be our hub for kind of everything that we're working on. And there are links on there. I think I've got them all up now for all of our social media and everything. So, I mean, it's
cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got stuff in the works. It's not perfect yet, but we're working on it, and
we're just trying to improve a little bit every day.
That's right. So,
and he's doing most of it behind my back while I'm working my day job.
We are coming up on a year of doing this show. It'll be in September.
Yeah,
we are a year, and we're also coming up on our 50th episode, which we have something special.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to. So, anyways, guys, thanks a lot for sitting here and listening to us talk for the last hour and some change. And hopefully I didn't embarrass Dave too much, because I got stories. And
oh no! No!
I'm thinking at some point we're going to have our special. What's the word I'm looking for? An after dark or something, where it's okay, this is the stuff that you shouldn't listen to in front of your kids or family members or anyone who's a decent person. And
I think I'm going to set that one out.
Okay. I got plenty of other people to come on to do that one. So
I'll sit over in the corner and run the equipment, and I'll let you and your heathen friends talk about all the bad you did in the world.
Yeah, well. So anyways, guys, thanks a lot. I am Alan Smith.
I'm Big Dave.
And we will see you next time.
See ya.
Her streets are paved with memories, her roads are lined with dreams. There's magic in her music, come see what we mean. All roads lead to Nashville, you're never far away. All roads lead to Nashville, Music City, USA.